Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing some sublimation drinkware. This is going to be a 5-part series of sublimation drinkware, tumblers, mugs, glass cans, kids water bottles, and sippy cups. And so today we're going to do tumblers in this video, and then we'll just do all the rest of them in the videos coming up. And yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so these are all the supplies that I'm going to be using in today's video. You can take a screenshot so you can know everything that you need. And we're going to hop straight into the computer so I can show you how to print your design. I use Canva for almost all of my designing for sublimation. So I'm not going to design it, but I'm going to show you how to print it. And I'm using 9.3 by 8. Sometimes I will use 9.3 by 8.1, but you really just want to measure your tumbler with some measuring tape just to be sure that you have the correct measurements. And when I'm printing, I go to share, PDF print, and then I select the page that I'm going to print, and I always put it on CMYK. I don't know if it really makes a big difference whether you choose RGB or CMYK, but I choose the second one because the printer is CMYK. So then you just go to Finder, and then you open up your file that you just saved. You can print it directly from Finder. You don't have to use Microsoft Word or Silhouette Studio or anything like that. Click File, Print, and then select your printer. I have the Epson ET2803, so I'm going to select that. And I do have a preset. This just makes it easier if you're like, for each time that you're going to print sublimation prints, you can use this whether it's for tumblers or not. It's pretty much the same settings because your sizing is going to be determined in Canva. So you do the letter paper size, and then for the scale, make sure you put it at 100%, because when I first started, I did not put it at 100%. I didn't even pay attention to it at all, and I was wondering why were my prints not the right size. So make sure you put the scale to 100%. I don't change anything under the layout or the paper handling, but under printer options, don't change anything there. Under the print settings, you want to make sure you choose premium presentation paper matte as the media type. That is the type of paper that we're using, the sublimation paper, and you want high quality for the print quality. And also, very important, you have to mirror your image with sublimation, or when you press it, your image will be on your substrate backwards. Under color options, I don't change anything there either, but this is the default, the Epson 2.2. Don't change anything there. And then you'll go ahead and click print, and it'll print. And so your next step would be to trim the white edges off of your print, because when you're putting it on your tumbler, you want it to match, or you want it to fit correctly. You don't want any overhang, or else that could cause ghosting or gassing. So I'm just trimming off all the white edges, and I have tried paper cutters, and I've also used a rotary with a ruler. When I was using the paper cutter, it was working for a while, but then after a while it would leave fuzzy edges on my images, and I didn't really like that. So that's when I switched and I started using a ruler and a rotary cutter. And then after a while with that also, I don't know if the blade was just getting dull or what, but I ended up trying out the X-Acto knife to start cutting my images, and that's what I've been using ever since. And it just works for me well because I cannot cut straight. So if you can cut straight, you can just use scissors. But for me, I need that straight edge to make sure that my print is straight. After you have trimmed your images, then next you will prepare your tumbler. I'm just using some alcohol and a coffee filter because there's no lint on a coffee filter to clean off the tumbler. This will get any fingerprints, dust, grease off of the tumbler so that the image will go on there correctly and there won't be anything messed up with it, basically. So just make sure that you clean off your tumbler and then you're ready to put the image on. I always turn my tumbler upside down, and I turn my image upside down so that the straight edge can hit the table and I can line it up with the straight edge, the top of the tumbler. And then I just squeeze it together, put a piece of tape in the middle. I put one on the bottom and then I put one on the top. There is a lot of controversy with taping tumblers. This is where I've landed with taping mine, and it works very well. I honestly feel like some people over tape their tumblers, which is just honestly not necessary. So I put a long strip of tape over those 3 pieces just to cover the entire seam, because air will be able to get in if it's not covered all the way. I'll show one more time of how I put the image on, turn it upside down, line up the straight edge with the top of the tumbler using the table, and then just get it real tight. Put down your piece at the bottom. Make sure you are pulling it. I am pulling it. If it may not seem like it in the video, but I am pulling it tight. And put your piece at the top. And you can like put the tumbler in your hand and kind of swirl it around to see if you feel the paper loose or not. I do that a lot. And then put your strip down, and that's all the tape that I use. I've tried taping the tops and the bottoms, and it's not really necessary, and I don't think it helps at all. Here you will see me using my fingernail to go up the seam of the image. There are 2 seams, one that's the outside of the paper and the one that's under the paper. You want to go down both seams to make sure that the image will fully sublimate. You can also use a Cricut scraper to do this. After your image is taped, then here comes the fun part. You're now ready to press your image. I'm using the PYD Life Tumbler Press, and right here you see me adjusting the pressure. You use the 2 knobs in the back to make it looser or tighter. And for tumblers, to get the pressure correct, you just want to tap the inside. If the tumbler doesn't move, it is tight enough. So that's a good way to gauge it. And then I will press these at 356 for 55 seconds. So I start with my seam facing me, and then I will close the tumbler. It does not have to be extremely tight. Just make sure that the tumbler does not move when you tap the side, and that will determine it. And after the 55 seconds are up, I will twist the seam towards the back of the press, and I'll press it again for another 55 seconds. Right here, you will see that the temperature is dropping. So once you put your cup in, the temperature drops because the cup is cooler. So it has to heat back up. By the time the 55 seconds is up, the press should be back at the 356 degrees. And you can go ahead and turn it. Sometimes if my press is not back at 356 right when the time stops, then I will just leave it until it hits that 356, and then I will turn it after the 356. So this is the turn, and I'm pressing it, and I'm gonna let that go for the 55 seconds, and then that'll be done. After you have pulled your tumbler out after the second press, you are ready to remove the sublimation paper to reveal your image. It does not matter if you wait until the cup cools or if you remove it hot. If you remove it hot, just make sure that you keep your gloves on and just remove the tape in any way that you can get it off. You can remove the tape as you see me doing here, and there you go. Your tumbler is sublimated with a beautiful image, and it is ready. As you can see, the tops and the bottoms are fully sublimated. There's no ghosting or gassing, so the tape is sufficient. And let's see one more image, and I'm just pulling all that tape off. You can also sometimes use a weeding tool to cut the tape. Just make sure you don't scrape your tumbler. Again, checking the tops to make sure there's no ghosting or gassing, which means gassing is when there's white spots on your tumbler where the image did not press, and ghosting is if the image looks like it's pressed twice or like the paper shifted or something. This is a white tumbler, so we really didn't have to, it has a white background, so we really didn't have to worry about the tops and bottoms with this one. It should sublimate perfectly every time if you have a white background. And that is it. Here's the finished result. Please let me know if you have any questions or video recommendations. Leave them in the comment section. Like and subscribe. Bye.